Wow, what a masterpiece. Sorry, I was just finishing up one of my all-time favorite movies, GForce, the 2009 Walt Disney Pictures family adventure comedy film featuring a team of anthropomorphic, sentient secret agent guinea pigs. But of course, you already knew that. Who hasn't seen GForce? And hey, speaking of GForce, have you ever stopped and wondered what G-forces on a roller coaster are and how they work? Everybody knows the feeling at the bottom of a loop where your body is pushed into the seat. Or perhaps the feeling of being ejected from that seat during an airtime hill, much like how I was ejected from Canada's Wonderland for being too American. These sensations, called gravitational force equivalents, or G-forces, are what make roller coasters the adrenaline-producing vehicles of excitement we know and cherish. As with many things in the roller coaster world, the art of creation is a complicated potion of math, physics, and what I assume to be random guesswork. For many, this subject, what with all its formulas, numbers, and these things, can quickly become confusing and overwhelming. If only there were some way to explain it, using a property that everybody in the world universally knows, loves, and appreciates. Wait a minute. That gives me an idea. What if, stay with me here, we use the hit animated hybrid movie GForce to explain G-forces? Oh, it's brilliant. So join me in this fascinating experiment, as long as you don't mind being my guinea pigs. Get it? No, like the movie, GForce.
The G stands for guinea pigs.
While waiting in line for a ride, you've no doubt heard a sweaty Mountain Dew-filled coaster enthusiast mention some of these terms. Lateral Gs, vertical Gs, negative Gs, positive Gs, straight up Gs, silent Gs. Most of these refer to the changing effect of gravity on a rider as a coaster navigates its layout. Let's start with the basics. Due to the mass of the very round and not at all flat Earth, 1 G is equal to 9.8 meters per second squared. Roller coasters, by design, are meant to change the amount of Gs a rider is experiencing at any given time, thereby eliciting a response of thrill, excitement, and occasional vomit. If you were standing completely still, much like how I stand at nightclubs, you would be experiencing 1 G. But sorry, this is probably all a little bit confusing. For example, picture Darwin, the lovable, confident, de facto leader of the G-Force, in the middle of his Special Forces training. While Darwin remains motionless, no doubt preparing his hyper-intelligent brain for the next mission, he is experiencing 1 G. However, as soon as Darwin begins to accelerate and run straight into the face of danger like the hero he is, the G's change dependent on the rate of his acceleration and also his change in direction. As he slows down to refill his tiny guinea pig lungs, the G-forces being enacted on his body change again. Now replace Darwin with a roller coaster, and you'll start to see how acceleration and direction affect the forces present on a ride. The amount of G-force the human body can withstand depends on a number of factors, both on the overall physicality of the person and the amount of time the force is sustained. Generally, humans, and not guinea pigs, can withstand forces in the range of -2 or 3 Gs to +6 or 7 Gs. Positive Gs drive blood downward toward the feet and away from the brain, which can result in grayouts, tunnel vision, blackouts, or even death. Negative Gs drive blood towards the head and can result in redouts, where one's vision is suddenly made to resemble the Nintendo Virtual Boy. For roller coasters, some of the common G-forces manipulated by manufacturers include vertical Gs, lateral Gs, and acceleration Gs. I will explain each of these using a beloved and undoubtedly popular character from GForce. To explain vertical Gs, we can use Blaster, the GForce's weapons expert, and his hilarious and iconic RC car stunt scene. As Blaster's car accelerates in order to perform his stunt, he presses down on the gas pedal to increase his speed and uses the ramp to change direction, in this case, to move up. As his car goes up the ramp, an opposite gravitational force is exerted against the car, smushing his furry little body into the driver's seat. This opposite force is a result of Newton's third law of motion, which is that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Somewhat like how stalking is often met with a restraining order. Try not to get this confused with the third law of G-force, which is, of course, that friends stick together. As Blaster continues his stunt, he launches off the ramp and begins to fly over the objects on the ground. As gravity works to push his car back towards the floor, the opposite force pushes up against Blaster's body, making him come out of his seat and gain a sense of flotation. These feelings are a result of negative vertical Gs, responsible for creating the sensation us coaster fans call airtime. Excellent real-world example of vertical Gs can be found on B&M hypercoasters and their massive airtime hills. The bottom of the hills produce positive vertical Gs and a feeling of heaviness, while the tops produce the negative equivalent and a feeling of weightlessness. The speed at which these hills are taken also affect the type of airtime created, whether it be floater, ejector, flowjector, or some other combination of those words I'm unaware of. If vertical Gs are responsible for the forces previously described, can you guess what lateral Gs are? If you said a philosophical, social, political, economic ideology and movement whose ultimate goal is to establish a socio-economic order structured upon the ideas of common ownership of the means of production and the absence of social classes, money, and the state, you'd be wrong. That's communism. Lateral Gs create the feeling of being pushed against the sides of your seat on a coaster. As a coaster accelerates around a curved piece of track, let's say turning to the right, the opposite force acts upon the train and the riders inside, pushing them to the left. This means that on, say, a Wild Mouse coaster, all of those hairpin turns are meant to create lateral Gs. As a general rule, banked turns are meant to reduce lateral Gs by allowing the coaster track to blend into the turn, as opposed to suddenly come across it. As a rider, you can feel the difference between heavily banked turns versus the ones on a coaster like the Legend at Holiday World, where one is pulverized into the left side of their car as the coaster takes the world's longest right-hand turn. The easiest way to explain lateral Gs is, of course, in the character of Speckles, the cyber-intelligent star-nosed mole who acts as the brains behind the G-force. When Speckles is thrown into a garbage truck in the middle of the second act, you can imagine his body free-floating amongst garbage before he's crushed by the trash compactor. If the garbage truck Speckles were trapped in were to take a sharp right-hand turn, Speckles' star-nosed body would be flung against the left-hand side of the trash hold. Naturally, another way to think about this is comparing it to the way GForce audience members felt, as their expectations were completely thrown in the opposite direction after the plot twist revealed Speckles merely faked being crushed in the garbage truck
and was secretly the villain behind the entire evil Project Saber since the entire time.
So it's kind of like that too. Last but not least, we have acceleration Gs. Acceleration Gs are created as a coaster rapidly approaches its top speed and, well,
Accelerates.
a great real-world example of this would be Top Thrill Dragster, which is notable for its ability to forcibly transport your face muscles back in time. Positive acceleration Gs are the kind that pin you back into your seat as a coaster launches, and negative acceleration Gs are the kind encountered on brake runs that send you lurching forward and can cause the occasional neck sprain. In simpler terms, acceleration Gs are like the scene in GForce where Darwin and the gang make their escape from Ben Kendall's lab through mail tubes after the FBI shuts down their operation and they're forced to go into hiding. One can only imagine the intense forces felt by Juarez, GForce's beauty and brawn, as she is launched at immense and possibly deadly speed. Of course, all of these G-forces can be felt in combination with each other, and the wide variety of coaster elements out there are meant to take advantage of these different gravitational sensations. Individual G-forces, whether they be vertical or lateral or accelerational, are great, but a force of G-forces, or a G-force force, is where the fun really begins. Much like in, say it with me now, the guinea pig movie. Let's talk about what we learned. In today's video, we covered vertical Gs, lateral Gs, acceleration Gs, communism, and the importance of fitting in. Overall, G-forces are an essential part of the roller coaster experience and are the true agents at work in what make a coaster tame, thrilling, or intense. I hope that now, thanks to our special agent rodent friends, you are able to appreciate all of the brilliant engineers who make our favorite rides fun and, most importantly, safe. Thank you for watching, and on behalf of the G-Force, one more thing.
Enjoy the ride.